The rain was relentless, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For weeks, a knot of unease had been tightening in my gut, a cold dread whispering that something was terribly wrong. My wife, Isolde, a vibrant artist whose canvases usually exploded with color, had become withdrawn, her laughter replaced by a haunted silence. We lived in Bristol, a city known for its colorful houses and artistic vibe, but lately our home felt draped in shadows. I'm Quentin, 44, an IT specialist. I spend my days wrestling with code, finding order in chaos. But the chaos in my marriage felt insurmountable. Isolde and I had been together for 15 years, married for 12. We'd built a life, a home filled with love, laughter, and the comforting rhythm of shared routines. Or so I thought. The first sign was subtle, a change in her scent. Isolde had always worn a light floral perfume, but recently I'd catch a whiff of something sharper, muskier, lingering in the air after she'd left a room. Then came the late nights at the studio. Isolde claimed she was working on a large commission, a series of paintings for a new gallery in Clifton. I understood the demands of her profession, the need for solitude and focus. But the frequency of these late nights, coupled with her increasing distance, set off alarm bells in my head. I tried talking to her, gently probing, asking if everything was all right. But she'd brush me off with a weary smile, attributing her behavior to stress and fatigue. "Don't worry, Quentin," she'd say, her eyes avoiding mine. "It's just a phase. Once this commission is done, things will go back to normal." But things didn't go back to normal. They spiraled further out of control. Isolde started taking calls in hushed tones, her voice dropping to a whisper when I entered the room. She became fiercely protective of her phone, always keeping it face down, deleting messages the moment they arrived. I tried to rationalize it, telling myself I was being paranoid, that my insecurities were getting the better of me. But the knot in my gut refused to loosen. The breaking point came on a Saturday morning. Isolde had told me she was going to the local art supply store to restock her paints. I decided to surprise her by cleaning her studio, a small room at the back of our house that was usually off-limits. I knew she valued her privacy, but I thought a clean workspace would be a nice gesture. As I tidied up, I noticed a sketchpad lying open on her desk. It wasn't unusual for Isolde to leave her sketches out, but something about this one caught my eye. It was a portrait of a man I didn't recognize. He had a rugged face, a strong jawline, and eyes that held a disturbing intensity. I flipped through the sketchpad, my heart pounding in my chest. There were dozens of portraits of the same man, each one more detailed and intimate than the last. Some were full-body sketches depicting him in various poses, some suggestive. My hands trembled as I realized what I was looking at, a visual record of an obsession. But the sketchpad wasn't the worst of it. Tucked inside between the pages, I found a photograph. It was a picture of Isolde and the man standing close together, their arms wrapped around each other. They were smiling, their faces radiant with happiness. It was a happiness I hadn't seen on Isolde's face in months, maybe even years. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. My breath caught in my throat and a wave of nausea washed over me. I stumbled back, knocking over a jar of paintbrushes. They clattered to the floor, the sound echoing in the sudden silence. I sank into a chair, the photograph clutched in my hand, the image seared into my brain. I knew with a certainty that chilled me to the bone that Isolde was having an affair. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I wandered around the house like a ghost, numb with shock and disbelief. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think straight. The woman I loved, the woman I had built my life with, had betrayed me in the most profound way imaginable. When Isolde finally came home, late in the evening, I was waiting for her. She walked in, her face flushed, her eyes bright. "Quentin, darling," she said, her voice a little too cheerful. "I'm so sorry I'm late. I got caught up at the gallery." I held up the photograph, my hand shaking. "Who is this, Isolde?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Her face drained of color. She stared at the photograph, her eyes wide with panic. "Quentin, I can explain," she stammered. "Explain what?" "Explain how you've been lying to me for weeks. Explain how you've been sneaking around behind my back. Explain how you've been betraying our marriage." My voice rose with each question, the anger finally breaking through the numbness. She started to cry, tears streaming down her face. "It just happened," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake." "Mistake?" I repeated, incredulous. This isn't a mistake, Isolde. This is a deliberate act of betrayal. This is a choice you made over and over again. She tried to deny it, to minimize it, to blame it on me. You've been so distant lately, she said, her voice accusatory. You haven't been paying attention to me. I felt neglected, I roared. I've been working my ass off to provide for us, to support your art. How dare you accuse me of neglecting you? The argument escalated, fueled by years of unspoken resentments and unresolved conflicts. We hurled accusations at each other, each word a dagger twisting in the wound. Finally, exhausted and defeated, I told her to leave. Out, Isolde, I said, my voice flat. I don't want to see you again. She begged me to reconsider, to give her another chance, but I was done. The trust was broken, the love was gone. There was nothing left to salvage. Isolde left that night, taking a suitcase filled with her clothes and a lifetime of memories. I watched her go, my heart aching with a pain I had never known before. In the days that followed, I was consumed by grief and anger. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't function. I called in sick to work, spending my days staring at the walls, replaying the events in my head, trying to make sense of it all. I reached out to my friend Barnaby, a pragmatic engineer with a dry wit. He listened patiently as I poured out my heart, offering words of comfort and support. You deserve better, Quentin, he said. Don't let her drag you down. Focus on yourself, on healing. Barnaby's words were a lifeline. I knew he was right. I couldn't let Isolde's betrayal define me. I had to move on, to rebuild my life. But first, I needed to know the truth. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Bront, to dig into Isolde's affair. I needed to know who the man was, how long it had been going on, and what Isolde's intentions were. Bront was efficient and discreet. Within a week, she had a file full of information about Isolde and her lover. His name was Caspian, a sculptor who had recently moved to Bristol from London. He was arrogant, self-centered, and had a reputation for seducing married women. According to Bront's investigation, Isolde and Caspian had met at an art exhibition a few months earlier. They had bonded over their shared passion for art, and their relationship had quickly escalated into a full-blown affair. Isolde had been spending her late nights at Caspian's studio, not working on her commission, but engaging in clandestine rendezvous. Bront also uncovered evidence that Isolde had been planning to leave me for Caspian. She had been secretly transferring money from our joint account into a private account, preparing to start a new life with him. The revelation of Isolde's deceit was like a punch to the gut. I felt betrayed all over again, even more deeply than before. She hadn't just had an affair. She had been systematically dismantling our life, preparing to abandon me for another man. Armed with this information, I confronted Isolde. She denied everything, claiming that Bront's investigation was a fabrication, that Caspian was just a friend. But I presented her with the evidence, the bank statements, the emails, the photographs. She couldn't deny it any longer. She broke down, sobbing and begging for forgiveness. She claimed she had made a mistake, that she still loved me, that she wanted to come home. But I was unmoved. Her lies had shattered my trust, and I knew I could never forgive her. I filed for divorce, and the proceedings were swift and acrimonious. Isolde fought me every step of the way, trying to get her hands on as much of our assets as possible. But I was determined to protect myself and my future. In the end, I won. I got the house, the majority of our savings, and full custody of our dog, a scruffy terrier named Winston, who had always been my loyal companion. Isolde moved to London with Caspian, hoping to start a new life. But their relationship was short-lived. Caspian quickly grew tired of her, and she found herself alone and penniless in a strange city. I heard through mutual friends that Isolde was struggling. Her art career had stalled, she was working a dead-end job, and she was deeply unhappy. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but I also knew that she had brought it all on herself. As for me, I slowly began to heal. I focused on my work, my friends, and my hobbies. I took up hiking, exploring the beautiful countryside surrounding Bristol. I reconnected with my passion for photography, capturing the beauty of the world through my lens. I even started dating again, cautiously at first, but with increasing confidence. I met a wonderful woman named Genevieve, a librarian with a kind heart and a sharp wit. We connected on a deep level, and I found myself falling in love again. One sunny afternoon, as Genevieve and I strolled through the Clifton Suspension Bridge, I received a text message from Isolde. It was a simple message, just 2 words. I'm sorry. I stared at the message for a long time, my heart filled with a mixture of emotions. Forgiveness, anger, sadness, and a strange sense of closure. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Isolde's apology came too late. I had moved on, built a new life, and found happiness again. Her betrayal had been a painful chapter in my life, but it had also made me stronger, more resilient, and more appreciative of the love I now shared with Genevieve. I deleted the message and took Genevieve's hand. Together, we walked into the future, leaving the ghosts of the past behind us. The rain had stopped and the sun was shining, casting a golden glow over the city of Bristol. And for the first time in a long time, I felt truly at peace. I've learned that betrayal can shatter your world, but it doesn't have to define you. You have the power to rebuild, to heal, and to find love again. Don't let the darkness consume you. Embrace the light and never give up on the possibility of a brighter future. Remember, even after the most devastating storms, the sun will always rise again. Keep your heart open, and you might just find happiness waiting for you around the corner. Thank you for listening, and I hope my story offers you some solace and strength in your own journey.